Having spent much time in Russia, much time talking to Mr. Putin, how big of a win was this for him?
I think this is a huge win because the whole Putin idea is effectively make Russia great again. And Russia has had an inferiority complex to America for a very long time, very obviously ever since the end of the Cold War. And here he had, in a sense, a US president somewhat debasing himself in front of him. That to some extent, means he's got where he wanted to go. And that counts for a lot.
So where does he go from here? What would be next on his agenda if he went into this and all of it was a win?
I think there's some element whereby Putin just keeps on. His new strategy with Trump is just to push a bit and see what happens. Because what seems to happen is he gets quite a lot. And I think he's actually probably stopped most of the active things he was doing before. You know, I'm not sure he's still trying to get himself involved in American politics as much as he was. He's not doing quite as much on his borders. I think he reined in because he faced sanctions, because he thought he was in danger of overdoing it. And then Trump doesn't even attack him about the things where it's fairly clear he has done stuff.
So what is it? How can then Putin press the advantage by, say, giving the U.S. something? And then asking for even more, but something that may not be that material, say.
I think there's that thing in politics where if your opponent is kind of drowning, you let him continue. And I think there is an element from Putin's point of view to have two things: to have America in chaos. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things which he always likes. To have NATO in chaos. To effectively have Trump saying, "Here is a man I trust. Here are these people, May, Merkel." Both women, who I'm not so sure about. Mm-hmm. That is unbelievably good. And to have the whole NATO thing slightly in question, these are all things which, on the whole, he doesn't need to do much to at the moment.
Having spent so much time with world leaders as well as with Mr. Putin, how does he organize something like this going into it? Like, I read reports that President Trump didn't want any prep. Like, he got this. He didn't want any briefing into it. What's like game theory to Putin?
I think Putin's essential strength as a leader is his ability, going all the way back to his time as a KGB leader, to go through strengths and weaknesses. And certainly if you ask him that, that's where he is particularly powerful. If you ask him what are Merkel's strengths and weaknesses, he'll list them almost immediately. It's the way he plays. My guess is that with Trump, he didn't need to do any stunts. If you remember with Merkel, and you could look at it on Google, there's you could find it either funny or not, where Merkel stupidly told him that she didn't like dogs. And so the next time they met, there was a huge dog there, and Merkel looked understandably not very happy about it. I don't think this time there was any need for that. To some extent, the beauty of Putin with Trump is that Putin just stays there and lets Trump dig a hole for himself.